Hey guys, my name is Ricardo. Welcome to the first official episode of the Daily Up.
And this is Chris, I'm your co-host.
And we just wanted to start off the podcast by saying that we here at the Daily Up wish the best and most speedy recovery, and our prayers are with Damar Hamlin and his family. He's still in critical condition. Please, everyone, pray, support this young man. We really need him to be okay. Not just for the sport, but just because at the end of the day, we all have to be empathetic and have empathy to a young man who gave it all on the field, and he's hurt right now. So our prayers to him.
Yeah, every human life is special.
Always. So we're going to start off the podcast by start talking a little bit about how everything's going again. So right now, me and Chris have been doing some research, and we really feel like right now the best thing that you can do is just keep cash in hand.
Cash is king, baby.
Cash is king, and not just in hand because you don't do anything by having it in your savings, but at least have it easily accessible. Diversify your portfolio, stay informed. It's changing not monthly; it's changing daily. New things are coming up, new laws that affect every little thing that you can think of. Even the most minuscule thing can be a big impact when you're talking about stocks. So we got a couple of tips and just information, and we hope that it helps and gets you going and makes you a couple dollars. At the end of the day, that's we want to not just entertain people, but as well as inform, be a little funny with it, and I hope you like what we got to say. Chris, you want to start off?
Yeah, look, first we're going to jump into stocks, guys. Good news for the people who have been waiting for something good to happen, because every recession is where the richest can be made, and right now we're headed into that, and we need to do what we can to take advantage of the opportunity so we can come out on the top. If you want generational wealth for your family, you need to be paying attention to the market, to the housing market, to the car market, to the stocks, bonds, everything that's going on, what the government's doing, what the Fed's doing. It's important you keep track of this stuff so that you can make the right moves to make the changes in your life that you need.
At the end of the day, making the right moves just doesn't secure your well-being now, but it secures your wealth in the long run. At the end of the day, you always have to see spite your face. It's not always what's right in front of you, it's what's 5 steps down.
Yeah, and I think nowadays we're too involved in instant gratification. We need to be focusing on the future and the long run, because the long run is what's going to pay off.
Of course, and you got a very good point with that, Chris. And we just want to say, so based on what we've looked at, so the trajectory and what it's predicting to be, what's predicting to be a good year, hopefully this year of 2023. At the end of the day, if we can't make it a good year, then it's just a year wasted. That's how I feel. So 2023 S&P 500 is predicted to at least have a minimum of 2.9% gains, which would put the S&P over 3,900 if it closes the year around 3,840. At the end of the day, those are just numbers. It's still a very unpredictable market. We have so much going on that can affect it that it changes daily. So.
Yeah, and guys, look, I think right now is when you need to be looking at these stocks and figuring out when you're going to make the move and what you're going to be doing. If we take a look at the S&P 500, where it sits at currently from a year ago, keep in mind that it is currently 21% below what it was exactly 1 year ago. I don't know about you, but to me that sounds like a pretty good discount. If I'm willing to make a move, this might be where I start. And if it continues to go down, you might want to average down and keep making something happen.
And that's where you want to always keep cash in hand. That's what we say, cash is king, Everyone talks about it, but very few people actually, I would say, are about it in that sense, because there was a statistic that came out, and majority of the people, let's just call it middle-age income, they have less than $1,000 in their savings.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, I would honestly say, I don't know what the exact figure is, but probably 50% of Americans, if not more, live in paycheck to paycheck, which is something we got to be changing. If you want to be prosperous and have a good life for your family, you got to be making the right choices. And then to continue from where the S&P 500 came from, by the way, if you look at Dow Jones, 10% in the last year. And then if you also look at the NASDAQ, 33% in the last year. That means 1 year ago it was 33% higher than it is right now. To me, that sounds like a discount. That sounds like something you need to make a move on, for sure.
For sure, Chris.
And that's not to say that it's not going to continue going down, guys. The thing is, you want to at least start at a certain point. It's better to be buying at a certain point when it's going down than it is to be buying when it's already going up, because you're going to possibly miss the opportunity to hit a lower end than you will when it's already rising up.
That's a good way to look at it. And at the end of the day, even if you start off and even if you start now and it goes down even a little bit more, or even a little bit more, you still started pretty early. So as long as you can catch at least some portion of that downhill trend, and you're right almost at the part where it starts going down, you can still capitalize and then invest when it's down again. And again, the only time that you lose with stocks is when you sell.
Of course.
And if you buy low, then there's no way that
Yes.
you can't make it up.
And look, of course, it's always easier to average down as well. I think the next thing too, it's really important. If you also look at some other stocks, Apple stock is down tremendously over the past year. Right now, it's at about 30.4% below what it was a year ago. So that might even be something going on. If you look at their 5-year trend or even the max trend that they have, Apple's always going to be going up. The company's very popular. For it to crash anytime soon or to go out of business is very highly unlikely. Same thing with Amazon, same thing with Walmart, same thing with certain things like Sony and Microsoft. You gotta be looking at the big names that are at a discount right now that you can be taking advantage and possibly making some gains later on in life.
That's definitely true. And at the end of the day, this is just our way and our view of it to try to inform and help you guys out. We in no way, shape, or form are financial managers or professional stockbrokers or anything like that. We're just giving you an honest opinion from, an average, I would say, average Joes in America. And we're in the same boat, and we feel like with us giving you a little bit of knowledge that maybe you're too busy working your butt off and trying to provide for your family, you don't have time to go and look at. You might take some time and look at this couple of minute clips that we're coming out with and learn something from it and keep you informed and help you grow your wealth. At the end of the day, if America overall grows their wealth, then we would all be more happy and it would all be a better life for everyone, especially for your family and anyone that you love.
Yeah, and I want to say too, for those of you saying, I'm never going to do this, I'm never going to do that, I'm never going to take a risk. Those who never take the right risk will never succeed or go further than you are right now. It takes the chance of you taking a risk to be able to do something great.
That's 100%. I know it sounds corny, but no pain, no gain. Those little corny phrases. If you don't take a risk, you won't reap the rewards.
Yeah, and I think another thing too we need to touch on, Warren Buffett, possibly one of the greatest investors of all time. I just want to have a quote that he says out here too. Bad news is an investor's best friend. And right now we're having bad news in the market, and the bad news is trending, and this is when we need to start making the decisions.
100%. That could not have been said better, Chris.
Yeah, and I think we also need to get into what's also affecting the stock market as well. So if we jump into some of the other markets, it's going to give you kind of a key point and explain this a little bit more. Because right now, the reason why the market's having such a big problem is really due to inflation and the Fed raising the rate. The reason why we're having that now is because we have such a weird occurrence with a supply and demand chain, and things are going back to normal, but it's just still hasn't picked up to where it needs to be. And now manufacturers, or let's use cars for example, are going to continue to keep their supplies low because they realize that it's so much more valuable for it to do that than it is to keep going back to the way it was before.
Yeah, of course, manufacturers, not just by keeping their units and their supply low, it makes them makes their customers feel a sense of urgency, but at the same time it saves them from overworking workers. They're paying less in hours to people. They're making less units. They're giving dealerships a 10 to 15, 20 day supply and telling the dealership, hey, we'll get it to you when we can. At the end of the day, I don't think we're ever going to go back to the days where you can go on a lot and there was 100 cars that all looked the same, that were different colors, and you could say this one. No, I like this one, but I want a black interior, and they have one. But we'll see where it goes. We can't read manufacturer's mind and what they're predicting and what their strategy is for logistics and how they want to go about it. But at the end of the day, we'll keep you as informed as we can.
Yeah, and I think this is a great opportunity then to move in the vehicle market and really talk about what's happening there and talk about, how the Fed and raising rates is going to go into that. And I think we need to go into the housing market afterwards, because both of these are very extremely tied into the stock market and everything else that's going on in the economy.
Well, you're talking about the Fed had raised the rate 7 times in 2022. 7 times. That is just, it's crazy. You're talking about prime rate right now on a mortgage. If you have prime, like unicorn, like you don't have anything bad on your credit and you know how to take care of your credit, which again, most people, they go through stuff. Not everyone's going to have a perfect 800 credit score. Some other people are going to have that normal range credit score of, 670 to 740 because shit happens, shit happens. That's all I can say. And you're talking about for prime rate to be 7.5 for housing right now. A lot of people got to take that in consideration. That's affecting the car business too as well. Car business used to be able to offer 0%. Some manufacturers are still rolling it out there for 36 months, but the average rate right now, non-special rate from a manufacturer that you get with a regular bank like Wells Fargo or any of the other big banks, you're talking about the average is 6.5%, 7% that prime customers are getting. So that just puts things in perspective. Inflation is a real thing, and you just have to know how to bob and weave your head around it to come out on the other side on top and not put yourself in a bad position.
And I think we need to take a look at it too. I mean, the reason why certain manufacturers are offering this 0%, 3.99, 2.99 for 36 months still and hasn't gone with every other bank is because they know that the certain group that they're going for, most of them are not going to be able to be accepted by that low rate. We're not going to qualify. They're not going to be that prime customer. Or in fact, if they are, they're not going to want to do that 36 months long term. So for them, it's advertising saying, hey, you come out to us, you come out to Honda, you come out to Toyota, you come out to Volkswagen. Guess what? 36 months, we're still going to give you 0%. But the thing is, most of the time, the customers, when they come in, they don't even know it's actually only for 36 months. And when they come in, they're expecting that rate. And then obviously it's up to the dealer to bump them, which it always is in this case.
That is true, and not just that, but a lot of people are just, I wouldn't say not ignorant because they want to, but just ignorant because they don't have time to know. So a lot of people, it's not a no, it's just that they don't know.
I mean, look, the system is set up to keep us so busy that it's hard to focus on the right stuff, right? Because you're going to be so busy going to work, taking care of your kids, going to soccer practice, feeding the dogs, I don't know if you live on a farm, the horses, the cows, whatever you're doing, where you're not going to be able to have the time to research every single little bit about buying a car, buying a house. That's why you have a car salesman. That's why you have dealerships. That's why you have a realtor. I mean, there's so many other different things. That's why they make YouTube videos and everything like this to try to help you out to make it quick. The thing is, we need to educate ourselves and stay focused on the market and on current events and figure out what's going on.
That is true, and tying it back to what we were talking about before, so the average savings, I dug in a little bit deep. The average savings for Americans under 35, it's just under $3,240. You're talking about $3,200. So people put that down as a car for car payments to get low. If you go back into or if you look a little bit more and you go into, like, for example, the boomers of the generation, 55, 64. Their only average savings $6,400. Of course, there's that 10% that have a lot more and they've invested it and they had a really good paying job and X, Y, and Z. But we're just talking about the average American. So that's something that ties in big. If you got everything going up, the only thing that can save you and keep your payment to a point where you can afford it is money down. So again, cash is king. Don't let anybody tell you different. It's just you got to know where to hold it so the cash keeps growing while still easily accessible and not too tied up. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, of course. And actually, speaking about the $6,400, that's going to also tie into the car market as well. You're no longer going to be able to buy these cars, drive them off the lot, and be able to sell them for more money 3 days later.
Oh no, that's gone.
Yeah,
that's definitely gone.
100%. We're going to go back to you're going to buy a car and just going to lose $6,400 as soon as you drive off the lot. And they're going to be stuck in that car for a year or two unless there's some kind of great incentive or you plan on putting a lot of money down.
Yeah, that weird position where people were in that they would buy a car today and then as soon as they drove it off was worth more. It's slowly but surely coming to an end. You're talking about in the last couple of weeks, prices on cars have dropped. And when I'm talking about cars, I mean specifically used cars. So when you would buy a car new, the value would increase because the demand on new cars was there, but there was no new cars available. So what are people going to do? They still need a car. They would go buy a used car. So that inflated the used car value or the used car market. That's why you would buy a 2021 for almost over MSRP of what it was brand new in 2021. So that's slowly and surely, it's going down. It's on a downhill trend. It's not rapidly going down, but it is going down. So at the end of the day, you still have to calculate for that moving forward, and you can't expect the same results that you got a year, 2 years ago. It's just not realistic.
Yeah, and I think this also is going to hurt a lot of people who are buying new cars at the dealers that were charging, 5 to 20 grand over MSRP. I mean, these people you're never going to be able to get out of these cars. Unless somehow you can get out right before it makes another big jump.
I disagree with you on that, Chris. It's
I
not,
know
you don't want to scare the people out of being like, oh my God, I can never buy a car again. No. So what's going to end up happening is, if you're that upside down on your car, if you lost a little bit of value, you're upside down, you put a little bit of money down, but still your LTV, which means loan to value, is still off for a bank to say yes to loan you the money for that car. What the manufacturers are going to start doing is they're going to go back to offering bigger rebates. I know you guys know what I'm talking about, when manufacturers used to give crazy numbers like $3,500, $5,500, $4,500 off on cars and stuff like that, which sounds like a unicorn right now because they're not doing that. So I disagree with you, Chris, in the side of the manufacturers aren't going to let their people down. At the end of the day, they want repeat business. They want to have that customer retention to be the highest that it can be.
I'm glad you're so enthusiastic about it, I guess, and have such high belief in it. I hope this is the case. Unfortunately, I really don't see this happening, especially in the case like Honda. Honda's sales are about 33% down this year than they were last year. And the reason for that is Honda, one brand, is still suffering from supply shortages. And I think Japanese cars in general are one of the biggest ones that are being affected.
Do you really think they're suffering from that, or they're just controlling their market?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, they're definitely getting affected by other stuff, but I think at the same time they're learning now to control their supply so they can keep the profit. But the thing is, there's no reason for them to do those two things, but then also give you the rebates that get away. And I know you understand what you're saying. Maybe the dealerships are going to, or not the dealerships, manufacturers can write it off and all these other things. But still, I think there's still going to be some disconnect in there for a little while.
That might be true to a certain point, but at the end of the day, they're still a business and they still have to run properly. So when tough gets, when the tough situations start pressing down and compressing, I feel like they're going to come and again go to the consumer side, because at the end of the day, customer experience is all that matters, and manufacturers don't want to leave a bad taste in the customer's mouth with their brand. Customer retention is the only way that a dealership and a brand stays healthy. Look at Apple. Apple went from going to changing their phones every 4 years to 3 to now they change it yearly.
Oh, it's every year.
And you get very little features that change but make a big impact because they advertise it like that. But at the end, what is the number one thing they have? Customer retention. If you have customer retention and brand loyalty, you're a winning business.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, customer retention is huge. And I think actually bringing that up about the Apple, that's one of those things that you guys need to pay attention to. You shouldn't be upgrading your phone every year. We need to get out of the whole consumerism and the way that it's becoming.
I think it's...
look, keeping cash is key, right?
Yeah.
If you're going out every year and paying $1,400 for a brand new cell phone, that's a lot of money that you're losing right there. Regardless, I understand you can trade it in and you're going to get some money off, but the thing is they're always keeping you in that payment. That's their whole plan, right?
That is true. But again, you're asking people something to do that brand loyalty, man.
Look, I get it, but at the end of
People
the day,
fight you over an iPhone. You're talking about iPhone customers.
it's true. Look, I have it right here.
iPhone customers are just a unique people. And just in that case, that they fight and back their brand 100%. That's the kind of loyalty manufacturers are looking for.
I get it. I'm not saying go away from loyalty, right? I'm saying buy your iPhone because it's so good you can keep it for 4 years before you upgrade.
You can, but then you got social media that plays a part into it, and who wants to have an old iPhone? You know what I mean? So it's a little bit of you can't let yourself be guided by what the trend is and what people are doing and what the new style is. At the end of the day, you make your own style because yes, you could have a 3-4 year old phone, but have $10,000-$20,000 in your bank account. What is more important to you?
Yeah, for me, I got the old phone, and I definitely don't have the 20 grand in my bank account.
You're that 10%. You're that 1% that I talked about earlier. Forget about a 10%. Chris is rocking that 1% status.
Hey, we're all rocking it out.
Hey, at the end of the day, as long as it makes the right decision for your pockets and for your well-being in the long run, that's all that matters, Chris. What's next, Chris?
So I think we need to jump into the housing market, to be honest with you.
Yes.
But right before we do that, I think we also need to talk about one thing that we did kind of miss about in the car market, and I think that's leases. Right now, the residuals on a lot of manufacturers are not the best. Some have some better ones, but I think the thing that people need to realize as well is money factors on these leases. The money factors right now on leases are actually almost more than the interest rates. A lease right now is not really the way to go, at least in my personal opinion.
Why?
Well, when you do the math on the money factors and everything, the money factors, if the way you play it out, you're actually paying more for the car than you would if you were just financing it. Because sometimes that money factor, when you calculate it into an interest rate, is higher than the interest rate you would have got.
But I'm still not following. Can you please explain to our viewers what you mean by that?
Yeah, so look, normally when you're leasing a car, the lease is actually supposed to be less expensive. And the benefit of it also is, one, you're paying less, and two, you're also going to get rid of the car in 3 years. And either you can sell it to the dealership, you can buy it out if you'd like to, or
just walk away.
Walk away, exactly. Which those two, the fact that you could do that, and then the fact that it was also usually cheaper than a finance, was the big benefits. Whereas now, we're losing the fact that it's actually going to be cheaper than your finance.
Well, it's hard to accurately say that. There's still good leases out there, and there's still good residual programs. Actually Honda being one of the better ones when it comes to residual value. Money factor is a money factor. At the end of the day, manufacturers are going to put out what they feel is right for their cars. But even then, you're still going to be in a better position because at the end of the 3 years, you decide what you want to do. So people still have that freedom.
Yeah, and look, I understand that too. But the thing is even using Audi as an example right now, the residual in the Audi was fantastic. The money factor wasn't. It was crazy. It was like 0.00331 or something like that.
Okay. What's your point?
What I'm saying is your leases, you're paying too much for the car at that point.
But says who?
The lease isn't beneficial for you.
But says who when you're talking about an inflated market? So what you thought you were overpaying for, you were actually just paying market price. The same as you would for right now milk at the grocery store. The same way how you would for gas. You're talking about 2 days ago, gas was $2.99 over here.
I know, but now the lease is more inflated than the finance.
But no, you're wrong because then the finance charges went up as well.
Yeah, but they're not as bad as the lease in most cases.
Well, they are because you're getting charged finance charges over 62 months, 72 months. You're getting charged lease. It's a rent charge. It's not.
But
really
what I'm
an
saying
interest
too is when you're shooting for a payment goal, it's easier to hit your certain payment goals for these customers, so certain manufacturers, than it is if your leases. Or back in the day,
by extending it to 84 months.
You used to get but back in the day, you used to be able to get your lease at $200 a month. That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, but you're talking back in 2010. $200 payments haven't existed in forever. And again, we're getting pretty off topic, but I'll follow your steps. $200 payments are not existent since I was gonna say early 2010s, 2015 max. You're talking about that. The average payment in America right now is
I think it's about $600, $700.
for a car payment. You would say about $600 to $700, correct? Yeah, about $700. Correct. So we're right on the money. But again, at the end of the day, what you got to look into it is what best benefits you. If you're somebody that drives very few miles and wants a new car every 3 years, then go ahead and get your lease. At the end of the day, you're saving very minimal right now when you're talking about finance and lease. At the end of the day, do what best suits you, your situation, and of course your pockets. But transitioning off that, unless you got something else to say.
All right, and I think the next thing we need to jump into right now is the housing market. So I think the housing market is also a huge part. I mean, look at 2008, or I should say, in all reality, guys, it started in 2007. Everybody says the 2008 collapse, but it really was 2007. It was somewhere in 2007 until I think it was June of 2009.
Okay.
And look at that. Look how the housing market, they call it the housing bubble, affected the economy so much. That one aspect destroyed everything for such a small part of time.
Yeah, and again, you know, at the end of the day, what we're telling you guys is the same thing that somebody noticed back then was a trend. They saw a trend that people were getting loans for houses that they can't afford. If you're working at McDonald's making, you know, $3,000 a month, you can't have a $2,500 mortgage. It's just, the math isn't there. It doesn't add up. So someone noticed that trend and then bet that it was gonna fail. And you know, it happened, and hopefully we're never in that situation again. But again, we were talking about this earlier off camera. I don't think it's the same thing. It doesn't compare to the automotive industry and how it's reacting to more supply and the same amount of demand right now that causes the used car prices to go down.
I'm not gonna lie, I completely lost there. I zoned out, but I think what my buddy said was totally correct. He's the smartest guy in the world. Smart big guy.
Not even, not even close. But that was a good time lapse right there. We gotta reboot you. Control Alt Delete.
Yo, I'm ready to get rebooted. Let's go. All right, so we talked about the stock market. We talked about the housing market. We talked a little about consumerism. Talked about the car market and what you need to do and what you don't need to do. And we also talked about you need to take advantage of the opportunities that we have now. And I think we said a lot today, and I think if there's a lot of things that you guys want us to dive deep into separately to give you more an in-depth view of certain markets or certain aspects, I think we can definitely do that. And I just want to make sure, you know, to let everybody know again, you know, this is our opinion. This is just what we're seeing. We're not professionals in this at all. So don't take our advice to heart. This is just to help you guys and just to let you know what we see and kind of for us to join together as a community to be able to work together.
And at the end of the day, you know, we say it because we're in the same position as you guys. We're not millionaires. We're not billionaires. We're hardworking people, and we have regular jobs to a point, and we deal with the same obstacles that some of you guys are dealing with. So if we can make your lives easier and make them a little bit better and a little bit more successful and a little bit wealthier, I feel like you guys would live an overall better life. And again, we're here for you guys, whatever you guys need. My name's Ricardo.
And this is your co-host, Chris.
And this is the Daily Up. Thank you for joining us. Please like, comment, subscribe, and tell us what you think.
And we'll see you guys next
time.
Damn.